$5 million at age 40 sounds like freedom, and honestly, for most people, it is an extraordinary amount of money. But the moment you stop working, the number changes jobs. It stops being a score. It becomes the thing that has to send you a paycheck. Picture the first Monday after quitting. Your calendar is lighter. Maybe that part feels wonderful. Then a quieter thought shows up. There is no salary coming next month. No bonus later this year. No new stock vesting in the background. No employer paycheck quietly refilling the system while you live your life. The account still says $5 million. But now that same number has to cover ordinary life. Groceries, housing, healthcare, taxes, family surprises, market drops, and years you have not lived yet. So I am not going to start with the surface question, is $5 million enough? The better question is, what has to be true for $5 million to become a durable, no-paycheck life? That is what we are going to map at the kitchen table. Not to scare you back to work. Not to pretend the answer is one magic number. Just to make the fear specific enough to plan around. Which dollars are easy to use first? What can go wrong early? Where flexibility matters? And why a big net worth can still be hard to trust? Not because the money is small. Because at age 40, the job you are asking it to do is enormous. Think of the thumbnail for this video. There is a card that says $5 million. It looks strong. It looks like the kind of number that should end the conversation. Then the receipt starts printing. Age 40, age 41, age 42. At first, the lines look ordinary. Housing, groceries, insurance, travel, helping family, replacing a car. Then the receipt keeps going. A market dip, a medical premium jump, a tax bill, a house repair, a parent who needs help, and one quiet line that does not always look scary at first. Inflation. The same life can slowly cost more as the decades pass. That is why the first few inches of the receipt matter more than they look. If the first decade goes badly, the rest of the receipt gets heavier. That is the 50-year problem. Not whether $5 million is impressive. It is. The question is whether the first 10 years are sturdy enough that the next 40 still have room to breathe. Let us use a hypothetical household. Say Alex and Jamie are 40. Between taxable investments, retirement accounts, cash, and maybe some home equity, the spreadsheet says $5 million. They want a comfortable life. Maybe their normal spending is around $140,000 to $180,000 a year, depending on where they live, whether they travel, and how much housing cost is still there. That range is not a recommendation. It is just an example, so the question has a shape, because that spending number is not the whole receipt. Before Medicare, healthcare may need its own line. Taxes need their own line. Big surprises need their own line. A roof, a family emergency, a bad insurance year, a move that costs more than expected. So when Alex and Jamie ask, "Can we retire with $5 million?" I would not answer by grabbing one withdrawal percentage and calling it done. I would ask a more practical set of questions. How much of that $5 million can actually pay the next 10 years? How much is less straightforward because of account rules, taxes, or emotional hesitation? How much is concentrated in one stock? How much is home equity that looks good on paper, but does not buy groceries unless they sell, borrow, or downsize? That is where rich on paper can still feel uncertain. The first decade is the fragile decade. At age 40, for most people, you do not get to skip from the retirement party to Social Security and Medicare. You have a long bridge in the middle. Over 50 years, markets may do fine, but in the first 5 or 10 years, the market can do something ugly right when you are learning how to live without a paycheck. The industry calls this sequence of return risk. In plain English, it means the market goes down while you are selling from the portfolio to pay real bills. That combination matters. If a portfolio falls while you are still working, your paycheck can help you wait. If it falls after you quit and the portfolio is also paying the mortgage, groceries, insurance, and taxes, the same market drop feels different. The damage is not only mathematical, it is emotional. You start questioning every dinner out, you refresh the brokerage account too often, and that panic can make people do exactly the wrong thing at exactly the wrong time. So the goal is not to predict the next crash. The goal is to make the first decade less dependent on perfect timing. Maybe that means keeping several years of lower-risk spending money. Maybe it means separating must-pay bills from flexible spending. Maybe it means delaying the biggest lifestyle upgrades until the retirement plan has survived its first storm. The point is not to hide from risk. It is to decide in advance which dollars protect ordinary life when the portfolio is having a bad year. This is why net worth is not the same thing as a retirement paycheck. $5 million can be made of very different ingredients. Some dollars are easy first dollars. Cash is easy to use, though too much cash can drag on a 50-year plan. A taxable brokerage account can be flexible, though selling appreciated assets may create taxes. Those dollars might be useful for the first no-paycheck years. Other dollars are real, but they do not all behave the same way. A traditional retirement account may be a large part of the household's wealth, but some of that account may belong to future taxes. Roth money can be extremely valuable, but you may not want to spend it first. Home equity can be comforting, but it is not automatically monthly income. None of these are bad. They just do different jobs. So the better fire question is not, do I have $5 million? It is more like this. Which part pays age 40 to 50? Which part pays 50 to 60? Which part should probably be left alone? And what happens if the first market cycle is not friendly? That is the difference between a big number and a usable plan. Now, let us talk about the quiet lines on the receipt. Healthcare is quiet because many high earners are used to an employer handling the messy part. Once you quit, that changes. Before Medicare eligibility, health insurance can become a planning problem, not just a benefits enrollment problem. The premium matters. The deductible matters. The network matters. And in some situations, where you pull money from can change the income that shows up on paper, which can change what health insurance costs. I am keeping this high level on purpose because the rules change and every household is different. But the practical point is simple. Do not look at spending and then casually add healthcare later. For a 40-year-old retiree, healthcare is part of the bridge. Taxes are similar. A household might say, we spend $160,000 a year. But the portfolio may need to produce more than that, depending on where the money comes from. Selling taxable investments is different from taking interest income. A Roth account is different from a traditional retirement account. A low-income year is different from a high-capital gain year. The retirement paycheck is not the gross withdrawal. It is what is left after the tax system is done with it. And then inflation keeps adding pressure quietly. Not necessarily all at once, and not always in a straight line, but over a long retirement, the receipt does not stay the same price forever. That does not mean the plan is impossible. It just means $5 million is not one clean pile. It is a set of dollars with different labels, different timing, and different consequences. This is where flexibility becomes powerful. A lot of people hear flexibility and think it means failure. Like, if you might ever earn money again, then you did not really retire. I do not think that is the right way to look at it. For someone retiring around 40, flexibility is not a confession that the plan is weak. It is one of the assets. Maybe you can cut travel for 1 year if markets are terrible. Maybe you can delay a renovation. Maybe you can do a small consulting project, not because you need a career again, but because a little income in a bad year can protect a lot more than it looks like on a spreadsheet. Maybe you can move later. Maybe you can downsize. Maybe you can sell a concentrated position gradually. maybe you keep a skill warm enough that work remains a lever, not a prison. And there is another kind of flexibility, too. What are you retiring to? That question matters at 40. Not because purpose replaces math, but because a good, no-paycheck life still needs a reason to get up on Tuesday. The key is honesty. Do not build a plan around fake flexibility you would never use. But if there are levers you would actually pull, write them down. A $5 million plan with real levers can be much more durable than a higher number with no room to adjust. So before turning in the badge, I would put one page on the kitchen table. Start with the honest spending floor, not the dream budget, the floor that still feels like a good life. Then separate the nice-to-have layer. Travel, upgrades, gifts, projects, lifestyle things that can pause for a year without destroying the plan. From there, ask how the first 10 years are actually paid. Which accounts? In what rough order? With what tax awareness? Then price healthcare before Medicare as its own line, not as a footnote. After that, look for the shock buffer. Not because every bad thing will happen, because over a long retirement, at least some bad thing usually does. Then ask where the plan is concentrated. One stock? One employer? One house? One country? One tax assumption? One fragile source of income? Any one of those can make a big number feel smaller than it looks. And finally, decide what would make you pause. This one matters. Decide in advance what would make you wait another year and what would not. A normal market drop should not automatically control your life. But discovering that your healthcare cost is double what you assumed? That might be worth slowing down for. The point of this kitchen table test is not to prove that retirement is safe forever. Nobody can prove that. The point is to replace a foggy fear with named risks, because I am scared to quit is hard to work with, but I need a better first decade plan, or I need to reduce one stock risk, or I need to price healthcare correctly, or I need a clearer tax map. Those are solvable problems. $5 million at age 40 may absolutely be enough for some households. For others, it may be close but not comfortable. For others, the number may be large, but the structure may be too fragile. The answer is not in the headline number by itself. The answer is in the receipt. Can the first decade survive a rough market? Are the dollars actually usable when needed? Are healthcare, taxes, and inflation included instead of wished away? Are there real levers if life does not follow the spreadsheet? If yes, the number starts to feel less like a score and more like a system. If you are thinking about FIRE, please subscribe to the channel. I will keep posting practical videos like this. And remember, the goal is not to make the 50-year receipt disappear. The goal is to lay it across the table, line by line, and still feel calm enough to sign it.